There is a moment in life where silence speaks louder than noise, where the discomfort inside becomes impossible to ignore, and in that moment a question arises: what if this version of me is no longer enough? We are not fixed. Just as the river carves its own shape through stone over time, we too are capable of transformation, not someday, not later, but now. But transformation is not a wish, it is not a thought, it is not a hope. It is discipline applied daily, awareness practiced with every breath, an intention sharper than the excuses that whisper in your mind. In 7 days you will not change the world, but in 7 days you can become unrecognizable to your doubts, your limitations, your old identity. And how do you begin? By deciding that from this moment on, you no longer negotiate with weakness. Let us walk together through this week, and when we arrive at the other side, you will not be the same. Not because time passed, but because you used it with purpose. People often wait to feel inspired. They wait for a spark, a perfect morning, the right mood, or some mystical energy that suddenly makes them move. But this waiting is the very thing that keeps them stuck. If you truly want to change, if you want to become someone unrecognizable in just 1 week, you must stop relying on the temporary fire of motivation and begin building the silent, powerful engine of discipline. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes as it pleases. Sometimes it wakes you up early, other times it's nowhere to be found. You cannot trust something so fleeting to carry the weight of transformation. That is why the ones who truly progress in mind, in body, in character choose structure over emotion. They create systems, they build routines, they develop a way of living that does not depend on how they feel. Instead, it depends on who they are becoming. There will be days when you don't want to train, days when your mind tells you it's too cold, too early, too painful, too much. And on those days, the average person will sit back and wait for motivation to return. But not you. You will understand that discipline means you do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Because those moments, those silent inner battles, are where identity is forged. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post online. It doesn't seek validation. Discipline wakes up when the world is still asleep. It moves with calm intensity. It follows through on promises made in silence. And while motivation may give you a strong start, it is discipline that ensures you finish what you begin. If you want to become unrecognizable in 1 week, you must first become consistent in 1 day. You must win the morning, even when it feels pointless. You must show up again and again, even when the voice in your head tells you not to. You must treat your word as law, not suggestion. When you say you will wake up at 5:00 a.m., you get up. Not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because your future depends on it. Discipline is not a punishment, it is not restriction, it is freedom. When your life is built on discipline, you no longer live in chaos. You don't waste time deciding whether or not to act. You already know, you already decided. Discipline removes the noise, the distraction, the negotiation. It brings clarity and focus. It aligns your daily actions with your highest vision. Many people mistake discipline for hardness. They think it means being cold or robotic. But true discipline comes from deep care, a care for your time, your body, your potential. When you are disciplined, it means you respect yourself enough not to settle. It means you've looked at your past patterns, your wasted hours, your broken promises, and chosen something better. You must set up your day like a ritual. Know what time you wake, what time you train, what you eat, what you avoid. Do not leave room for random decision making. Every small choice matters. If your mind learns that it can skip one task, it will eventually skip all of them. But if it learns that no matter what, the structure is followed, it will begin to trust you. And once your mind trusts you, everything changes. Emotion is unstable, it rises and falls. One difficult conversation can destroy your motivation. One missed goal can leave you doubting everything, but structure remains. Discipline is your anchor in the storm. It's what allows you to keep moving when everything else is uncertain. Even when you fail, discipline brings you back. Even when you are tired, it guides your next step. The truth is, the gap between who you are and who you want to become is not filled with motivation. It is filled with actions taken when no one is watching, repetitions that feel boring, meals eaten with intention, hours spent refining small habits, and all of this requires one thing: discipline. Start small. Wake up when you said you would. Make your bed, drink water, train your body, set goals for the day and complete them. Do not seek perfection, seek consistency. Discipline is not about doing everything right. It's about not giving up when things go wrong. It's about returning to the path every time you slip. Each time you do, you strengthen the part of you that leads rather than follows. In the beginning, it will feel unnatural. You may feel resistance. You may want to rest when it's time to move. You may feel the pull of comfort calling you back. But every time you choose structure instead of emotion, you weaken the grip of the old self. The version of you that waits, that hopes, that makes excuses, and in its place, a new self begins to rise, quiet, clear, focused, unstoppable. There is a truth that many people avoid because it's uncomfortable. Transformation is not just about adding new things into your life. It is about removing what weakens you. To become unrecognizable in 1 week, you don't need to do more. You need to subtract. You need to eliminate one weakness each day, slowly, consistently, and without compromise. This is the path to power, to clarity, and to control over yourself. Weakness is not always something dramatic. It is often subtle. It hides in small habits. It wears the disguise of comfort. It lives in procrastination, in scrolling without purpose, in the things you tolerate that drain your energy without giving anything back. To change deeply, you must first identify what is slowing you down, not externally but internally, because everything begins from within. Each day, when you wake up, you must ask, what part of me today must die for the better version to emerge? What behavior, what excuse, what mindset has no place in the life I say I want to live? The process of elimination is not an act of judgment. It is an act of discipline. You are not punishing yourself. You are creating space for strength to grow, for awareness to deepen, for the noise in your life to quiet down so that your highest self can speak clearly. The key is to focus on one thing at a time. Trying to eliminate all weaknesses at once creates chaos. It leads to overwhelm, and from there, most people return to old ways. But when you focus on one weakness per day, it becomes manageable. It becomes precise. It becomes intentional. The decision might be as simple as not checking your phone first thing in the morning, or not eating something you know dulls your body, or refusing to speak negatively about yourself, even in passing. These are not small changes. They are profound shifts in identity. Weaknesses lose their power when they are exposed to the light. What once felt automatic becomes a conscious choice, and that is where your power lies, in the space between awareness and action. When you can see the weakness clearly and still choose strength, that is when you begin to reshape yourself, not through willpower alone, but through awareness trained by discipline. To eliminate a weakness is to reclaim your energy. Every time you let go of a distraction, you recover attention. Every time you stop a self-sabotaging habit, you strengthen trust in yourself. Every time you replace a negative thought with silence or stillness, you train your mind to become your ally rather than your enemy. This is the subtle power of subtraction. It is not dramatic, but it is effective, and it is available to you right now. But this path requires honesty, brutal honesty. You must be willing to look at the parts of yourself you would rather ignore. The laziness you hide behind humor, the fear you mask as perfectionism, the envy you carry in silence. You must look without judgment, but also without excuse. Not because you are broken, but because you are ready. Ready to become someone your old self would not recognize. Each weakness you eliminate reveals a layer of potential. Imagine if, by the end of the week, you had removed 7 blocks from your path, even mental, physical, or emotional patterns that have been holding you back for months, even years. That kind of shift does not happen through addition. It happens through subtraction, not more effort, just fewer distractions, not more information, just less noise. Discipline and subtraction go hand in hand. It takes discipline to stop reacting, to stop giving your energy to things that don't serve your vision, to stop feeding the habits that keep you in the same loop. Discipline gives you the structure to let go, not randomly, but strategically. And every act of letting go is a declaration. I am no longer who I was. I choose something better. I choose something higher. To eliminate one weakness each day is not just a practice. It is a mindset. It is a way of seeing the world. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to remove what does not belong. Every obstacle becomes a mirror showing you the exact place you must strengthen. Every craving, every distraction, every old habit becomes a test. Do you still want to be the person you were, or are you ready to become who you're meant to be? This is the essence of transformation, not found in what you add, but in what you leave behind. When you understand this, each day becomes sacred. Each choice becomes a tool. Each moment of discomfort becomes a doorway to clarity. You are no longer at the mercy of emotion. You are no longer reacting blindly. You are now moving with precision, with purpose, with silence that speaks louder than noise. Your environment is either feeding your growth or slowly draining it. There is no neutral space. Every room you sit in, every voice you listen to, every screen you stare at, it all shapes your energy, your focus, and ultimately your future. If you want to become unrecognizable in 1 week, you must learn to protect your energy by mastering your environment. You must become intentional about what surrounds you, because what surrounds you influences what becomes internal. Many people think self-discipline is only about willpower. They try to fight distractions with sheer effort, hoping they can resist temptation again and again. But that is not mastery, that is struggle. True discipline is built on design. You don't fight the old behavior repeatedly. You remove the trigger. You don't wrestle with bad habits in your mind. You change the space where those habits live. The more you control your surroundings, the less you rely on fragile motivation. You need to begin looking at your environment as an extension of your mind. If your physical space is filled with clutter, noise, and chaos, your mind will reflect that same state. But if your environment is clean, purposeful, and quiet, your thoughts begin to settle. Focus becomes sharper. Time becomes more valuable. Energy no longer leaks from you. It is stored, it is channeled, it is guarded. One of the first steps toward mastery is awareness. Ask yourself, who do I allow into my space? What kind of conversations am I constantly exposed to? What sounds fill my room? What visuals dominate my walls and screens? These questions seem small, but they are powerful, because every detail contributes to your inner state, and your inner state determines how far, how fast, and how deeply you can transform. If you are always surrounded by negativity, you begin to carry that energy without realizing it. If you are constantly in spaces that tolerate mediocrity, you begin to lower your standards. But if you place yourself in an environment that demands more from you, where there is stillness, structure, and clarity, your mind begins to mirror that energy. And with that, your discipline deepens. Start with your physical space, your room, your workspace, your training area. Remove distractions. Keep only what supports your growth. Let the space reflect the person you are becoming, not the one you are trying to escape. A place of clarity is a place of power. When you wake up in an environment that feels clean, quiet, and aligned with your purpose, you don't have to search for motivation. The energy of the space guides you forward. Then, protect your digital environment. Your phone, your social media, the messages you read, and the content you consume. These are not harmless. They shape your mind every time you engage with them. Are you feeding your vision or feeding your doubt? Are you learning, growing, becoming stronger, or just scrolling through noise that numbs you? If something steals your attention without offering clarity, it doesn't belong. Next, evaluate your social environment. The people you spend time with are a reflection of your future. Are they disciplined, focused, and intentional? Or do they live in cycles of distraction and complaint? You don't need to cut people out with anger, but you must choose proximity with wisdom. Energy is contagious, and time spent around the wrong energy is not just wasted, it's expensive. It costs you your edge. It dulls your vision, it slows your momentum. Sometimes mastering your environment means creating boundaries that others may not understand, saying no to late night conversations, to mindless entertainment, to unnecessary events. It means creating solitude, not because you dislike people, but because you are protecting your process. Because in the quiet, you can hear your intuition. In stillness, your purpose becomes louder than your distractions. This is not about being rigid, it is about being aware. Aware of what gives you life and what takes it. Aware of where you are sharp and where you begin to slip. Once you see the link between your environment and your energy, you can no longer act blindly. You begin to curate your space like a sacred temple. Only what serves you is allowed in. Everything else is respectfully removed. When you create an environment that aligns with your goals, discipline becomes effortless. You no longer fight your surroundings, they carry you. You no longer resist distraction. It doesn't exist where you live. And from that place of stillness, from that place of clarity, you begin to rise. Not in flashes of effort, but in the steady rhythm of a person whose life is designed for growth. You are not just living, you are training. You are sculpting the space around you to reflect the person you have decided to become. You do not become great by accident. You become great by design, by conscious repetition of the actions that align with the identity you want to embody. If you want to become unrecognizable in 1 week, you must not wait for the identity to appear. You must create it through your behavior. You must act as the person you intend to become, even before you feel like that person. Repetition is the sculptor of identity. What you do daily is not just what you do, it is who you are becoming. There is a subtle power in consistency that most people underestimate. They think greatness comes from rare bursts of inspiration or extraordinary events. But transformation lives in the mundane. It lives in the small things you repeat every day without applause. The way you breathe, the way you walk, the way you train, even when no one watches. These repetitions are the bricks that build the foundation of a new version of yourself. You must realize that every decision you make is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you wake up early and train, even though you're tired, you're casting a vote for the disciplined version of you. When you say no to distractions, you're voting for the focused self. When you sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you're choosing the version of you that has emotional control. The more consistently you vote for that version, the more real it becomes, not in theory, but in behavior. The danger is in believing that identity is something you wait to feel before you act. But the truth is reversed. Action comes first, emotion follows. You act like the warrior, and the strength will come. You act like the focused version, and clarity will arrive. You act like someone with standards, and those standards begin to shape the path ahead. You become who you repeatedly decide to be. That is the process. Repetition, however, requires patience. It is not glamorous, it is not always exciting, but it is sacred. It is the rhythm of transformation. When you begin to respect repetition, you are no longer a slave to your emotions. You no longer ask yourself, do I feel like doing this today? Instead, you say, this is what I do. You turn behavior into identity, and identity into a lifestyle. Think about the power of rituals. A morning routine repeated with intention, a workout performed with precision, a quiet moment of reflection practiced daily. These things seem small, but they are powerful, not because of what they produce immediately, but because of what they say about you. They say you are someone who shows up, someone who honors discipline, someone who values growth over comfort. Even when you don't see the results right away, repetition is at work. It is rewiring your mind. It is reshaping your emotional patterns. It is sharpening your focus. One repetition may not change your life, but 1,000, performed with intention, absolutely will, and you must trust that. You must believe in the invisible process long before the external world notices anything different. The key is to bring presence into your repetitions. Don't just go through the motions. Be there, feel each movement, breathe into each task, pay attention to your thoughts while doing it. This level of mindfulness transforms repetition from something robotic into something alive, into something that builds not just your habits, but your awareness. That kind of repetition is how warriors are built, quietly, daily, deliberately. Every time you repeat an action, you are reinforcing a neural pathway. You are telling your mind, this is who I am now, and your mind begins to adapt. It begins to support that behavior. Over time, resistance weakens, the excuses grow quieter, the old identity fades, and the new one begins to take over, not through force, but through consistent practice. You will not feel motivated every day, you will not always feel powerful, but if you are committed to repeating the right actions regardless of emotion, the identity will take hold. You will stop pretending to be strong and start becoming strong. You will stop chasing confidence and start embodying it. You will stop hoping for clarity and start acting with it. All because you trusted repetition over feelings. This is the way. Small actions, done daily, repeated without excuse, carried out with purpose. The identity you seek is not far. It is built into every moment where you choose the action that aligns with who you wish to become. Let your behavior be a reflection of the future you. Let your repetitions speak louder than your doubts, and let your consistency carve a version of you that the past could never imagine. You are not bound by who you were yesterday. You are not a prisoner of old habits, old thoughts, or old limitations. In just 1 week, through discipline, elimination, environmental control, and repetition, you can become unrecognizable. But this path requires more than desire. It demands intention. It asks that you rise before comfort wakes. It calls for choices made without applause, and it promises transformation, not by chance, but by conscious action, taken day after day. The world does not need more people who speak of change. It needs those who embody it. Let your life become the message. Let your actions make the noise. And when the week is over, don't look for validation from others, look in the mirror, and meet the person you always knew you could be.